Another guy that's become a very controversial character over the years that was part of Tough Enough is Bill Demott. What's your opinion of his training practices?
I don't know. I've never been trained by Bill. I know that when Bill worked with me on Tough Enough, Bill was the show producers purposely teamed me up with, the first one was Taz, the second one was Bob, and the third one was Bill. And then the fourth one, it was me and Bill as well. So it was always like, they were the blender. They came in and rah, 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 when really I was the real heel because I was the one that constantly put pressure on those kids all the time. I never let up. I was always pushing them. But then you'd get the big verbal rah, 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 kind of thing, and that was what Bill was. Bill played that part, and that's what he did. I don't know. I've heard all the stuff. I've never been with Bill when he was training guys, per se, you know what I mean? I heard all the stuff coming out of Atlanta and out of Florida, but the short time that he was around with me in Louisville, it was just the Bill that I'd seen on Tough Enough. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm not saying it isn't, but because enough people said that it is, that who knows? But I personally, again, if I were to offer an opinion, it would just be conjecture and assumption.
I don't know, man. I don't know if they were trying to run it like an old school Carney type thing and just not be on the up and up with everything. I just remember shows not being booked or guys complaining. They had all the issues with Bill Demott. There's no way on earth. The way that's the same guy who's training people, and there's no way Bill could be around today. It's so PC and correct. You can't even blink the wrong way. Trust me, I know what goes on in training down there. It's not the same. And so Bill would have never survived it long term.
I've heard a couple stories of Hugh Morris talking about his time in WCW, and I guess at one point he was involved in taking a van for a joyride with one of the Public Enemy, and there was another incident, I guess, where he got too drunk, so he missed the show, so you made him wrestle something like 12 times.
No, I didn't. That was a funny story. He called me, and I called him. I said, "Where are you?" Because he lived in Cocoa Beach. I said, "Where are you?" He said, "I'm too drunk to come to the show. I'm too hungover." I said, "Okay." I didn't make him wrestle 12 times, but the next day, the next 2 days, I made him wrestle 8 times. I made him wrestle every taping we had, you know what I mean? But I said, when he called me, he said, "Am I fired?" I said, "No, you told the truth. See you tomorrow." Well, he thought he was off the hook, right? But hey, he missed it, so he got his hand slapped. It was no big thing. Bill and I were very good friends. I brought him in because I was on a tour in Japan and saw him. I actually saw him do the moonsault for the first time. He was afraid to do it. We got a mat, rolled it up, and he did it perfectly. And yeah.
And this thing where they took the van and I guess they got fired briefly and then it was overturned.
Yeah, it was. You had to know Johnny. He was a wonderful guy, but that was a different era, and they were party animals, not unlike somebody else I know, but they would go out and do crazy shit, and everybody was doing crazy shit. But they went out, and Rocco actually went out to be the voice of reason and talk him out of it. He jumped in the car and saying, "You can't do that." The next thing, he peeled out and he got fired over it.
The Jelly Donut story is the best story in the whole world. And it was used the wrong way, and the wrong caption was put to it, and I tormented people and made them train naked and use jelly donuts. It's the most absurd thing in the world. But someone filmed it and put a caption to it, and they went, "What do we do with that?" "Oh, don't eat jelly donut." Well, don't make a deal. Right? That was the deal. They made a deal. They didn't want to train. They made a deal. What's the deal? "I'll give somebody a squisher bare ass with a jelly donut in their mouth." I look around at 40 people and I went, "Deal." Guy gets naked, Other guy sits in a corner with a jelly donut in his mouth. He runs across the ring, hits the Rikishi ass bump, squishes it all over the face. Funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. Everybody's ripped, bro. Okay, we're done. Everybody can go home. No training, no nothing. That was the deal. 6 years later, that picture comes out on the internet. Bill Demott makes students train naked. The picture was blurry. It wasn't defined. It wasn't anything. All you could see was me in the background going, laughing. Office calls. Bill, what do we do about this? I don't eat jelly donut. I don't know what you want to do. Bill, what do you got to say? I know they made a deal and they fucking lost. I said, well, you know, now was it the smartest deal I ever made? No, but it was funny as hell. You're in a room with a bunch of people, all on the same page, you're tired for the week. Give me a deal, we're out. They made a deal, we stuck with the deal. 6 years later, someone who got let go from the company wasn't satisfied, told a different story. Demott makes people train naked. I'm an internet sensation overnight. Office goes, what are we gonna do? Don't eat the fucking jelly donut. That's the only answer I had, because there was no malice, there was no nothing. It was a story, innocent, with a bunch of men and women who trained together every day, that when things weren't going their way, turned it around and handed it to somebody else.
What would Bill of today told Bill of then, maybe when these guys want to do this bet, maybe we should change it up a little bit? Or would you have done the same exact thing?
To be honest, I probably would do the same exact thing.
I trained at Deep South Wrestling as a non-contract wrestler in the fall of 2006 for about a month, 4 or 5 weeks. And I wrestled on all of the Deep South Wrestling events that took place during that time. I never had any personal issues with Bill Demott. The training there from a physical standpoint was much easier than the dungeon. One unusual training that Bill Demott had us do was Deep South Wrestling was located in a mini mall, and on one of the days he had the males and female wrestlers stripped down to their underwear, and I forgot if it was 1 or 2 laps each, but somebody had an SUV. We had to take turns pushing it around the building. I remember that I had to do mine with a girl wrestler. It really wasn't that embarrassing, to be honest. It was just a little unusual that rather than just have us push the SUV around, we did it in our underwear. The one really disturbing thing that stands out to me, though, that I witnessed there from the training was an incident where there was a box of jelly donuts, the kind that have white powder on the outside and jelly on the inside. And I forget what his name was at the time. He went on to become Festus and Luke Gallows in WWE. But Bill had him stripped naked to the point where the only thing covering the shaft of his dick was his 2 fists like that. And I remember Dave Taylor was also a trainer there, and I remember Dave Taylor's joke was, why do you keep pretending you need 2 fists to cover it? As he's in the ring naked, and in one corner of the ring you had Zack Ryder, and in the other corner there was a female wrestler. What happened in this drill, so to speak, was Bill would take a donut from the box, put it in Zack Ryder's mouth, and then Gallows would be in the ring. He'd run from one corner to the other and try and smash the donut in the person's face with the donut in the mouth. So then after he smashed it, Bill would say, you got to get all the jelly out of the donut. So then he'd have to rub his ass in the people sitting in each corner's face until all the jelly from all of the donuts exited the donut and got on their face. This was not a short incident. There is a picture out from this incident. This went on for some period of time, and until the entire box of donuts was empty.
there were 2 or 3 times that happened to me with Bill, and twice with Bill, and once or twice with a couple other people. So it's very interesting to be able to see. And I told Bill at one point, I go, Bill, if you're going to threaten to kick my ass over not drinking with you, then you can start right now. But I'm not going to change who I am for you. And so it's interesting to see what he's gone through with his daughter, and where he's at today. And I find that, people like that have anger and hurt in their life will only change when a loved one or an experience is so detrimental to their life that they lose something. So it's interesting. Karma's out there.
Yeah, because a lot of people I've talked to a bunch of people that were trained with him, and some people have the perception that people complained just because he made people do 500 squats or whatever, or take a large amount of bumps, but there was actually some personal bullying that went on with his training as well, I guess, from what I understand.
So I think there's a difference between like the training side of it being tough, and I'm fine with that. There was one experience I had with him where different people would do back bumps when we're training. We'd do different wrestling moves. And some of the guys, like, he would yell at them because they do it wrong. They would stay on the ground and just like look up at him. I would never do that. I'd get up. I'm saying, can you show me what to do right? And I'm a very good listener, because in my sport, MMA, if you don't do it right, you get punched and kicked in the face and you get broke or hurt or dead, right? So he did it to me one day. I got up. He said, come here. He grabbed my little finger and bent it backwards. And it was like this. I'm like, awesome. So you have it? And I look at him, and he bent it backwards where it hurt. And I looked in his face. I said, if you're going to break it, break it. But at the end of the day, if you want to get me to do something right, just coach me and teach me how to do it right. Because I'm here to listen and learn. And he let it go, and he never fucked with me after that. But to me, it's unprofessional, unacceptable. If I ever saw that in my organization, I would automatically fire somebody, because people who treat people like that are so hurt and beat up inside that they only can hurt other people.
Bill Demott, how was your relationship with him? Obviously, we hear a little bit of tension. Did you feel like he was complimentary to your career, or do you feel he brought you back?
I don't know, man. I never. It was a weird. We were hot and cold from day to day. It would be very strange when you'd walk in and go, "Hey, Bill, how you doing?" You're gonna shake a guy's hand. He looks at it and walks away. Meanwhile, this guy's the head coach. But I'm gonna try to. Hey, quiet down.
Hi, Tyrus. This is Hannibal from the HannibalTV.com. I recently read Bill Demott's book, and I remember when I knew you in Deep South Wrestling, you guys were very close. But in his book, he was very derogatory towards me. Yeah, so I was wondering what happened between you guys and what you think about those comments he made.
During the time of when he got let go at Deep South, I wasn't happy with the way things went down, but I was very vocal about that to him, and he was upset at me, and I think he was upset at a lot of people just with the way that he was let go, and the way that I guess just like in my idea I played football and stuff, and when a coach got fired, the new coach came in. That was your new coach, and you went back to work because at the end of the day, you're trying to get a job. So he felt we didn't have a job yet, so I embraced the new coach and just went to work. Dr. Tom Pritchard was amazing, and he brought a completely different style than Coach Bill did. He was psychology and presence, and Bill was work ethic and move sets and things like that. So they were completely two different things. And some of the guys kind of formed this alliance where they were like loyal to Bill and this, that, whatever. And I really didn't want much to do with that. I was going to keep doing what I had to do. But it's actually funny. When he came back to FCW, his book had just maybe had been out for a couple weeks, and Zack Ryder came running up to me to show me the book. And Coach had come out of Demott had come out of the office and was like, "Give me that." And he's like, "Before you see this, let's step outside. Let's talk about it." And I was like, am I in the book? and I had never been in the book before, so I was kind of excited about it. He said, yeah. And then he's like, listen, I was a little upset at the time, and I might have said some things out of anger, and, I apologize. I'm like, well, let me read it. Before you go, let me read it. And he basically said that the only thing talented about me is my name or something like that.
So we get this thing going, and so Joe's obligation is he's going to run the company, Billy's going to train, and I'm doing TV. And we have a bunch with meetings, we eat a dinner. We, in general, have a relatively good interaction, but we have clearly, except that Bill knew Joe from WCW, nobody really knew me. And probably the biggest problem we had is neither of them knew who the heck I was, nor cared, nor believed that I had actually done anything, and any suggestion I had was like Bill says in his book, oh, he claimed to have done millions of hours of TV. Well, no, I didn't. I claimed to have done what I had, and that's why they hired me. It was my specific skill. In theory, his skill was to train wrestlers. In theory, Joe's was, respectfully, to run the company and, be happy if it all works, but more importantly, it's got to, eventually there's going to be shows, somebody has to promote and get people in the building, blah, blah, blah.
What about Bill's claim that in some of those initial meetings, Bill claimed in his book that you leaked some of the information about the meetings to the internet and the WWE office?
That was interesting. First meeting we had, we all flew up, took a limo, and went to a meeting. They all came from not having jobs at the time, basically. Joe had no job, right? And Joe's older and barely knows the internet. So certainly he didn't leak anything, or if he did, it was accidentally telling somebody who leaked it for him and he doesn't even know. Who knows with Billy? I don't know if he was involved in the internet or not. I was at a TV taping for TNA. And they at TNA didn't know this was happening. So, but I didn't have a contract with TNA, so I wasn't doing anything wrong. So I had a return flight TNA had bought to go home, and instead WWE sent me a ticket to go up there for a meeting. I didn't want people to know. Let's see, what else does Billy say that's wring?
He said you were supposed to be there
every
promos, day.
Which is awesome. The thing about promos, that everyone hated me working with promos. That was a big to-do. Again, they didn't want me to do anything. I should not have an opinion with talent, which meant it was very hard to critique anything without Joe or Bill jumping up my ass. Literally. So promos were one of the areas where clearly they were mine, but clearly nobody was happy I was doing it. So when we were there, the three of us, authority figures, they would all hover around and be very quick to not like what I said. Yet the reality is, as Dreamer would be able to tell anyone who, if they asked him, I actually was writing promos and crafting characters for guys that were in danger of losing their jobs. And one of them, Palmer Cannon, for example, was one of the first guys out of there. He did the authority figure thing until he had a hazing deal with JBL over in UK and quit the company.
He also claims that you were supposed to be there every day. And
I wasn't there every day.
Okay. So that's an exaggeration.
There was a room, again, everything was monitored, but because Billy didn't want me out there while he was training, I had a center room that was the technical area that had monitors, and I could see everything that was going on and hear everything that was going on. Billy forgot that some of the times and would say something stupid about me, because it was that stupid. Not on my end, but on Joe and Bill's for darn sure. So this went on for 3 months. It wasn't a month. It was 3 agonizing, hideous months. One of the worst times I've ever had in wrestling.
And then he claims you snuck out the back door to quote him in your book.
And that's totally wrong too. We had a meeting because the office said, "Hey, this can't be that bad, Bill." But again, the office, and Bill is correct, the office was constantly on Joe and Bill, never me. Actually, I never got bitched at. But they were constantly being bitched at because, occasionally talent would complain about Billy. We set a camera up, we taped every workout to make sure that was a liability thing, and we sent it to the office. And I'm assuming I never did that. That was done by them, so I never know.
And Bill did have the ability to turn off that camera, right? Because I trained there for a month and I saw it. It wasn't a live feed. It was just basically a hard camera.
Yeah, it was a tape. It was literally a tape or a DVD at some point, which I'd set the system up because the office kept saying, Bill, can you send anything? You know, anything. Help us out here. And I went, okay, fine, because they actually wanted to bring people up. I mean, Miz was there and was probably the guy most attention was on and was actually the most prepared vocally. I loved Bill's stuff at the beginning, but when I left 3 months later, the exact same training was being done with everybody every day. No one had graduated past grammar school. They were doing the same drills every day. They were running the same long laps outside where half the guys blew up.
And there was guys like Sonny Siaki there that were seasoned veterans that didn't necessarily need
Kid Cash. Johnny Swingers, I mean, whether Johnny was young, but at the same time, he'd done ECW, he'd done TNAS, had cash. They had plenty of ring time. Their bump card already had notches on it. You know, and if you're a wrestler, and I'm not, but I've bumped and now go to a chiropractor on the regular. And Billy, again, was just do drills and bump a lot.
Right.
So
and Bill actually says he hated you in an excerpt from his personal journal in his book, too. So I guess he was kind of biased towards you due to his hatred.
Yeah, I have no idea why he hated me because I didn't know him and I had never done anything to the man. I didn't like that he was cliquish. I didn't like that he was going out and partying with the guys, going to bars and stuff, you know, on a lot of the nights. And the guys were staying out late as a result of it in their bonding thing. I thought that was wrong.
Tell us about your time in NXT and the training all the superstars. A lot of them now who are headlining WrestleMania this year.
I mean, you look across the board at just the past 10 years or so that I've been fortunate enough to be part of the program and started the Performance Center down here with Triple H, and NXT's taken off to be this unbelievable brand, and it's WrestleMania season, so a couple times a year brings a smile on my face. This is one of them.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please like this video if you enjoyed it and click the subscribe button to not miss any of our latest shoot interviews, match videos, or news updates. Support us on patreon.com for $1.99 a month to watch our full shoot interviews ad-free and help our channel grow. Follow us on Twitter at the Hannibal TV for instant updates.